There you go.
It might help if I unmute myself. If everybody can hear me, please wave. Hello, sister. How are you? Good to see you, Sister Rose. Give me just a second. I'm waiting for Father Maurice to join us. It might help if I unmute myself. If everybody can hear me, please wave. How do I stop myself? Hello, sister. How are you? Good to see you, Sister Rose. Looks like I have got a...
Good to see you too.
Give me just a second. I'm waiting for Father Maurice to join us.
Oh, wait a minute. I'm on twice. I can see that. Huh.
I have, I've got to mute myself, so that's okay. And I apologize, I can't hear you, Sister Rose. Let me unmute here.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. There you go. How are you?
Okay. I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. Where are you from, Sister Rose?
Well, right now I work for the Archdiocese of Detroit.
Oh, you're here in Detroit. Okay.
I'm here in Detroit, correct. I serve as delegate for religious, delegate for consecrated life. So I work with the sisters, brothers, and priests in religious communities.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. When are you going to come and visit us at St. Moses the Black?
Oh, as soon as possible.
I just got off the phone with my pastor, Father Marco, and he's doing a wonderful job here at St. Moses the Black, bringing a lot of people back to the church. So,
okay. What time is your Sunday Mass?
We are on at 10 a.m.
10 a.m.
10 a.m. on Sundays. As a matter of fact, we're going to have a youth Mass on Sunday, November 29th, I believe. So we were just talking about how can we get our young people involved and get our young people, get our young people more involved in the church and in the liturgy as well. So.
Okay, sounds good. Didn't you just have something done on the ceilings?
Yes.
That was your church, right?
Yes, we had some. There was some of the paintings were, or some of the things were coming down, so we did that. We also took up the carpet at the church, all that old carpet, and they redid the entire floors. The altar has been redone. There's new marble floors on the altar. It's absolutely fabulous. So
Wow.
yeah.
I think you had some.
And we're
you had
having.
some- Mhm,
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, I was going to say you had some partnership for a short time there with the Albanian folks. Is that right?
Yes.
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 Who
Father
helped out with the
Marco is
paintings or the ceiling?
yes.
Yeah, my connection there is I work with the Albanian sisters, either at St.
Oh,
Paul's, Rochester, or Our Lady of Albania in Southfield.
okay.
So I was happy to see that. The sisters had nothing to do with it, but I thought of them when I saw that project. So that was
Okay.
nice. Yeah.
Good.
What's your position, Richard?
I'm an international Catholic lay evangelist. And so I go around the world preaching, teaching, and sharing the word of God all around the world. And at the church, I just do whatever Father wants me to do.
I see. Okay.
Whatever
All right.
he tells me to do, that's what I do.
I see. Okay, excellent.
Yep. Shannon, welcome. Thank you for coming. Shannon, how are you?
Good evening, everyone.
Where are
Good
you
evening.
from?
I am from St. Mary and St. Richard parishes in Wayne, Michigan, and I am a youth coordinator.
Oh, wonderful.
1 year in, my year and a half, if you count the COVID.
How are things going there as far as the liturgies there?
Things are going quite well. We just actually had an assembly on Sunday with the with my team group, and we were able to start our Advent Blitz. We made 100 packages for the homebound to be dropped off either at a senior home or something like that, whatever deacon or father can arrange, to drop off, since we can't go and visit or carol or anything. So I'm just trying to plan a couple more gatherings in our gymnasium, spaced out, where we do the assembly line packaging. And they talk amongst themselves about how it's different and how they come up with more ideas of how to reach out to the homebound or seniors and letting them know that they're still here. So I'm kind of glad we're going through this, because it really is making them feel like being more engaged and wanting to be a part.
Good. And we've got Sally David in Canton, Ohio. How are you, Sally? She has her mic muted, but that's good. I've known Sally for a long time. Sally used to be director of religious education at a couple of churches in Canton, and she's absolutely wonderful religious educator. Miss Valerie Berry, how are you? And Valerie is muted. And we've got Anita Kaufman from Beaumont, Texas. Wonderful church there, Our Mother Mercy in Beaumont. So, and we have our guest of honor here today, my former pastor, Father Maurice Nutt. How are you, Father?
Doing well. How are you, Richard?
I'm doing well, thank you. I want to thank everybody for joining us today on this wonderful opportunity to be able to talk about, to not only to continue to celebrate Black Catholic History Month, which is the entire month of November. And we have celebrated a lot of different people. I've been able to do a lot of digging into just not the normal people that we have come to know who is ours, St. Monica, St. Augustine, St. Martin de Porres. But if you go to the YouTube channel, you'll see more about a lot of other people, like Father Cyprian Davis, who was known by as a loving title as the Black Pope. He was a wonderful, wonderful teacher at St. Meinrad Seminary in Indiana. We talk about a lot of other wonderful, wonderful people that have done some great things in the Catholic Church. So please check that out. And be sure that you share that with other people. Today, we want to focus on the woman that is right here in my office. She had a true impact on me many years ago when I first became Catholic. Her name is Sister Thea Bowman. She was a very, very powerful preacher. And I want to introduce not only my former pastor, but Father Maurice Nutt is an expert, as far as I'm concerned, on the life of Sister Thea Bowman. He is working on her cause for canonization within the Catholic Church. Father Maurice is born and raised in St. Louis, Missouri. He was the former pastor of St. Alphonsus Liguori Rock Church, which I believe is the church that he grew up in, serving as well. And, Father Maurice has, and I've never told him this, or maybe I have, but he has had a significant impact on my ministry and who I am today and what God has blessed me with. And I am a direct disciple of Father Maurice, because when I first started preaching, yes, I am. When I first started preaching on the street corners, you don't know, I used to take notes of your homilies, and then I used to go out and parrot your homilies. Right. And that's how I learned to preach. So I want to welcome Father Maurice J. Nutt to the program today.
Thank you. So happy to be here, Richard. It's so good to be with the other guests. And this is certainly a wonderful month for us, being November, being the 30th anniversary of the National Black Catholic History Month. It started 30 years ago through the National Black Catholic Clergy Caucus, and as a way to honor those who have gone before us. It's also All Saints Month. So we also used it for that reason. And one of our earliest saints of African descent was certainly St. Martin de Porres. And so that's the reason we celebrate this month. So I'm happy to be with you. Yes, Sister Thea Bowman was my mentor, my spiritual mother, and my teacher. I took all of her classes at the Institute for Black Catholic Studies during the years I was there in 1985 and to 1989. She taught there from 1982 to 1988, taught Black religion and the arts, Black literature, preaching. So she is who I emulated, Richard, as a preacher. She, you might have just listened to me, but, I had to stand up before her and preach. And if I didn't have it together, she was quick to say, sit down, come back tomorrow when you got it together, So very demanding, and she wanted to pull the very best out of me. So
let me ask you this, Father, who was worse on you? Who was harder on you? Sister Thea or our brother, Father Carlisle Blake?
They both were probably equal, because I think they had a conspiracy together. My Redemptorist brother and his mentor and very good friend, Carlisle Blake, God rest his soul, took me out for my first mission. And I preached my first mission with him in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. And as you already know the story, Richard, but I'll share, in fact, I was, a seminarian, just learning to preach, learning the skill. And so I had my nice written out sermon together and was ready to give it. And he walked up after he introduced me and went over to the pulpit and took the sermon away from me and gave me a little blessing and said, go ahead and preach, So, yeah, Thea wasn't quite that bad. So, yeah.
How did you come to meet Thea Bowman?
Again, through my Black Redemptorist connection. Father Glenn Parker had already known Sister Thea prior to myself. And so it was at the 1984 Black Joint Conference of Black Catholic Clergy, sisters, deacons and their wives, and seminarians. And it was at the first graduation of the Institute for Black Catholic Studies. So in fact, it was the very first time that 3 people would receive the Masters of Theology in Black Catholic Studies. So in and of itself, it was a historic event to be at. But Sister Thea Bowman was a commencement speaker. And you have to realize I had just come out of making novitiate, making my vows as a redemptress. And during that time, being in the seminary, being the only African American, I assimilated so very much into the white world, in which I thought Catholicism was based in Eurocentric ways of worshiping, acknowledgement that that Blackness or Africanism had very little to do with Catholicism. I just hadn't been taught that. I was raised very much a traditional Roman Catholic, but hearing her speak at that commencement exercise, it was a cathartic moment for me, because all I recall is at that moment, I just had a floodgate of tears, crying, because I had suppressed my Blackness as a seminarian, the beauty of my Blackness, the giftedness of our culture, and had not really found that as something to bring forth in myself as a Roman Catholic. Her words, I can't even tell you exactly what she said, but they had a great impact on me. I met her after the ceremony for the first time. And in all, I knew I was standing in front of an extraordinary woman, a woman of holiness, a woman who was very astute intellectually. So, you know, I was told if you didn't have anything to really say, don't say much. And so I just said hello to her. And to be honest, when I joined the Institute the following year, I said very little even then. You know, I just took her in. I looked at her expressions, her gestures, her spirituality, her song, and all of that until I was comfortable enough, and we became very close. I knew her exactly the last 6 years of her life intimately. So I was very happy to have known her and to have been her student.
Take us back through the life of Sister Thea. Where was she born? And just tell us a little bit about her.
Well, first of all, if you really want to know all that, buy my book.
Amen.
My book, an award-winning book, to my surprise, that won awards from the Association of Catholic Publishers, as well as the Catholic Press Association. It's called Thea Bowman, Faithful and Free. It's published by Liturgical Press. It is a popular biography. So what I mean by that, it is not the definitive biography. That was written probably about 5 or 6 years prior to my book. It's called Thea's Song. That's it, with all the footnotes and detail. Although this is a footnoted scholarly work, it is made for the average person in the pew to read. So,
okay.
Thea Bowman, Faithful and Free. It tells all the details. So I know, being her biographer, I know a lot of the details. So I say that so that I'm going to skip over a whole lot. And
Father, didn't you do another book on Thea as well?
Yeah, I took her words, all of her speeches and her homilies, well, most of them, I should say, and I took snippets from that and put them under spirituals that outlined what she was talking about. If it was being Black and Catholic, or being what she had to say about children, or prayer, or faith, or hope, you know. So I used it. That was done by Liguori Publications, and that book is Thea Bowman in My Own Words. So that was the precursor. I did that, and it's a smaller biography in that. But to give you a little bit of background, she was born on December 29th, 1937 in Yazoo County, Mississippi. Her father was a doctor, medical doctor, and her mother was an educator. She was the only child, and she was considered, she always described herself as an old folks child, because her parents were her mother was in her late 30s, her father was in her early 40s. And they were really concerned about Thea growing up and having the very best. They doted on her. And the reason she was born in Yazoo County rather than Canton is because Canton didn't have a Black hospital. So Black people had to go to, found themselves going to Yazoo County, and that's why she was born there. An only child, very gregarious. She was engaging. She was smart beyond her years. And being an old folk child, she spent a lot of time listening to older people speak, especially the elders. And she took in their spirituality, their wisdom, their guidance, their knowing chapter and verse of the Bible, their music, and all of those things she took in. And she was so enthralled by that she says there's a lot of wisdom. And I really love that about her, and spending time with older people, the elders. Her father was United Methodist, her mother was Episcopalian. She was actually baptized as an Episcopalian church. And through my research, when she decided to become Catholic, she was conditionally baptized. And they could not find her baptismal certificate, or I don't know if they even tried, but in my research, I got a copy of her Episcopalian baptismal certificate. So she was already baptized in the Trinitarian formula. So there was really no need for her to be baptized again in the Catholic faith. But at the age of 9, the Franciscan Sisters of Perpetual Adoration and the Trinitarian missionaries had come to do spiritual outreach and educational outreach to Black Catholics in Canton. They first of all built a school, and Thea was getting behind in her education. Even though her mother was a teacher, she was not really learning in the public schools. So her mother pulled her out and put her into this newly created Black Catholic school. And she was there a very short time, not even a year, before she came home and announced to her parents. She was good about telling them what she was going to do. She says, I'm going to become Catholic. You know, her parents weren't Catholic, her friends weren't Catholic. She didn't like, if no one joined me, I'm still going to become Catholic. And she did at the age of 9. And by that time, they also had a parish set up, and that's where she was baptized, received Holy Communion, and later confirmed. And then she came home with another big announcement to her parents. At the age of 15, she says, I'm going to Wisconsin to become a nun. And again, her parents aren't Catholic, but she's going to become a nun. And they had a fit about it. They tried to fight her on that. But Thea won, because when they told her, no, maybe after high school you can go to the convent, but not now, Thea went on a hunger strike and would not eat. She was about 2 months without eating, and her mother got so worried because she got so frail, and she would not eat until her parents relented, and then they let her go to the to the convent. And when she went there, her dad gave her this word. She says, baby, they're not gonna like you there. You know, you're not gonna be liked. You're a Black woman, young girl going to this all-white convent. They're not gonna like you. She said, Daddy, I'm gonna make them like me. And that was her attitude. She went there, I'm gonna make them like me. And in going there, she really excelled because she had very good teachers and the sisters, and it was well known that she was at the top of her class academically. She was well read, great student. And you have to, let me put it in context, cultural context for you. The other young girls in the convent were the daughters of farmers and dairy farmers and factory workers. This Black woman coming from Canton, Mississippi, was a daughter of a MD, a medical doctor, and an educator, a teacher. So her parents were both college educated, whereas her classmates, they weren't. They didn't come from educated parents. So, but she was Black. And so she really started showing what Black people can do and what they were, and even her depth of spirituality. She said, if I am going to be a Franciscan Sister of Perpetual Adoration, I'm going to become the very best Franciscan Sister of Perpetual Adoration. And she put her heart and soul into it, entered into the customs and traditions of the sisters, and tried to be a faithful follower of the spirituality of St. Francis. Fast forward that she knew she was going to be a teacher. And when she made her vows, let me just say this, go back. When she was born, her dad bought a wonderful, expensive bottle of French champagne. And her mother thought that he bought it to celebrate her birth. And he said, I'm gonna pop this cork on her wedding day, and I'm gonna give her a toast for her marriage, you know. And The reason I brought that up because, that never happened.
Right.
But there's a civil rights museum in Canton, Mississippi, where you can go there today. And in that museum is that bottle of champagne still uncorked. So that's something that her definitive biographers didn't even write about because they didn't go to Canton and find that out. And so to see that bottle, in my book, I even give you the brand, the year, and everything of that champagne. So her dad never, ever was able to uncork that, but his pride of her becoming a sister. You have to understand that the sisters only had, and you can appreciate this, Richard, coming from the Rock Church, and there wasn't many African-American ministries in the Midwest that the Redemptors had. The only African-American apostolate that the sisters had were in Canton, Mississippi. They did not send her there after profession. She went to Blessed Sacrament School in La Crosse, Wisconsin to teach. And all of her students were enthralled with her. They says, "Oh, Sister Thea, Sister Thea." You have to realize her name was Bertha Bowman, and she took the name Thea in honor of her dad, Theo, or Theon. And so that's why she became Sister Thea. In her classroom, she was so engaging that all of these white kids were so enthralled by her that they would come home, "Sister Thea this, Sister Thea that." And get this is how young minds think. They were so enthralled with her, they weren't caught up or hung up with her being Black. So they never told their parents that they were being taught by a Black nun. So you can imagine on report card day and parent-student conference day, when they walk in and they see Sister Thea sitting there, and the mothers and fathers were very bold. This is we've heard so much about you, but our children never told us that you were Black. And then sister just said, "Does that matter? Your children are learning. They're engaged." So so I thought that was very much about her spirituality, that it superseded that. She went on to get her educationally. She got her bachelor's degree from Viterbo University in La Crosse. She got her master's in the late 60s. In fact, it was 1969 from the Catholic University of America. That was in English literature. Her focus in that thesis was on William Faulkner. She's considered a William Faulkner scholar. And in 1972, she received her PhD from Catholic University of America in English linguistics. And her dissertation was on St. Thomas More's treatise on forgiveness that she published. And it was a very hard research topic, and yet she did very well on it. In 1969, Sister Thea was invited to Howard University right after, 1968 rather, to Howard University shortly after Martin Luther King was assassinated and the riots erupted in Washington. Thea addressed the young people. And I was thinking of today with all the rioting and racial reckoning we're going through, and how Thea was right there with young people. And she said, "I know you're angry. I know you're frustrating. I know you miss Martin." But she said to those young people, "What are you going to do? How will you write for us? How will you stand up for us? How will you speak for us? How will you lead us?" And so that was her sense of spirituality. People have asked me in this current situation we're in, I said, Thea, if she was alive, would be doing the same thing. She would have been in Ferguson. She would have been in Minneapolis. She would have been in Louisville, saying the same thing to those young people and leading them in song, leading them in righteous protest, but saying, lead, don't just say, we don't like this. What are you going to do to change things?
Right.
So I always appreciated that about her life and her spirituality. It was in Washington that she got in touch with her African-American roots once again, realizing she was out in Wisconsin and she had gone back to teach at her grade school and high school in Canton but it was in Washington that she came in touch with her roots of her Blackness, because, Washington is a Black Catholic Mecca. And so she was very much happy to be engrossed in that. After that, she came back eventually to Canton in 1978. Her parents were getting elderly and ill. The Diocese of Jackson hired her to be the director of the intercultural awareness as director of that office. She went around Jackson Diocese bringing Hispanics and Native Americans and other groups, cultural groups together, as well as Black Catholics, to share their gifts. She believed in breaking down the borders and the walls that separate races. She says racism continues to persist because we have no point of contact. We live in polarized, segregated areas. She would find opportunities to bring people together. And being a trained vocalist, she did it in song. She would have song fests. You know, we sing some of your music, you sing some of our music. She would have food fest. We'll eat some of your food, you eat some of our food, and just broke, and you know, things that will break down the barriers and get people to come into point of contact. That's why I think she's an apostle for racial reconciliation in our world today. And I think she should always be held up for that. It was in 1984 that her parents found out, well, that they were getting very, very ill. And it's to the point they died months apart from each other. First, her mother died, and then her father died. It was while her mother was in the hospital at St. Dominic's Hospital in Jackson that she found that morning before coming to visit her that she had a lump in her breast. She went to her mother's doctor and says, I have a colleague I need you to see. Would you mind going to see him right now? And after they got the test back, of course, they found out that she had breast cancer. And she says her mother couldn't talk at that time, but when she told her mother she had breast cancer, she knew that her mother knew what was happening because her blood pressure shot up. And so that really hurt her mom, that, you know, that her baby was dying or sick, and she was sick as well and couldn't do anything for her. They died in 1984. And as you know, in 1984, she found out she had breast cancer. She said, I don't know what I'm gonna do. She says, I could just give in and just give up, but it was through her friends and her students that told her to keep on living, Thea. There's so much more you have to say and do. And so she made a vow that I'm gonna live until I die. And it was that she became very, very, it seemed like her life just began to blow up because she had more speaking engagements, more places to go, more lives to touch. It was there that someone had heard about her at a parish gathering. They happened to be producers for 60 Minutes. And it was on May 3rd, 1987 that 60 Minutes featured her. It was one of the highest rated shows with everybody going around, because this was somebody we know was on 60 Minutes being featured. and the word just went out all over. And Mike Wallace would later say, if he didn't want to do it at first, he said, what's so special about a nun? And he later said that it was the most compelling story he's ever done. So he was and he also knew that, he said, I knew I was sitting in the midst of a saint, even in that interview. It was through that interview that a few people saw that. As you said, no, the whole country saw it, but Harry Belafonte saw it, Whoopi Goldberg saw it, Maya Angelou saw it, and they all reached out to Thea. They said, you have such a compelling life, your life should be a movie. And so it was there that Thea began the negotiations. I was a student of hers. I never forget the summer she had to fly out to Hollywood, to LA to meet with Whoopi Goldberg. And so as students, we were all excited when she came back. What did Whoopi's house look like? What was she like? And we got to really get all those insights from Thea about that. And Thea was really just down to earth. She didn't think she had a nice house. Yes, it's big. Yes, she's got nice cars, but she was telling us more about her spirituality and who Whoopi was. You all need to know Whoopi grew up Catholic. So, and her brother actually belonged to St. Columba's in Oakland, California before passing.
Okay.
So after that, the movie was starting. No one really reveals why it was never done. There was speculation that the screenwriter started asking intrusive questions about Thea's life when she was visiting the friends that Thea gave and was asking, was there any kind of scandal in her life? She can't be that holy. Wanted to get something juicy for a movie, and that just wasn't going to happen. Her sisters pulled they let the rights expire and would not sign off on it. So that was one of the reasons why it was never completed. In 1989, she spoke to the Catholic bishop. She was asked to come to do that. You have to realize in 1987, the Black Catholics had just, and Thea spoke at this, had just reestablished the Black Catholic Congresses. And as lay leadership speaking out for what we need as Black Catholics in the church. And the bishops had voted on a pastoral plan for Black Catholics in the United States. And it's interesting that none of the Black bishops, and we had 10 active Black bishops at that time, none of them wanted to stand in front of their colleagues and talk about what it meant to be Black and Catholic. So they wrote out a sister who was cancer-ridden in a wheelchair, who, weak as she was, saying, "You do it then," and pushed her out in front of the bishops. First time that a Black woman, lay woman, ever addressed the bishops in the United States. And if you haven't seen that, you need to watch it. It's an experience and a lesson in and of itself. But Richard, I make this critique of that because she talked to them as brothers, big and little brothers. So she's very forthright with the bishops and told them exactly what they needed to do and what they were doing currently, what they were doing wrong. It's funny that the U.S. bishops meeting in November just ended today. So I'm saying this, that if I were to look at everything which I've already done, I like how I always say, if I were to do, because I know I already did it. Everything that she named that we should be doing, that Black should be more so given opportunities to share their gifts, to be in leadership, that we should have in our diocesan chanceries more Black people in offices. We should establish offices of Black Catholics and maintain them. We should have grade schools, because that's a way of educating, that's a way of evangelizing, that we need to keep our schools open. If you check off all of those things, we have fewer Black bishops. That we look at our chanceries, there are very few Black people sitting in our chanceries. Our offices of Black Catholics are all closed and merged, and our schools are closing day by day. Black parishes are closing day by day. Yes. We're doing 30 years since Thea spoke to them. They have done exactly what she told them not to do.
Not to do, the opposite.
And I want to say this too, it's, so I appreciate it, and maybe I count it as a consolation prize. It didn't take much for them to say yes to her canonization. I think it was very powerful, because Rome looks at that strongly when all the Catholic bishops vote unanimously to move a cause forward. But Thea says, I can hear her saying, I didn't ask you to make me a saint. I asked you to take care of my people. And I can hear her saying that today.
I do, yes.
Take care of my people. You spend time making me a saint when my people are suffering, and you're not doing right by them. And that's what she would say. She died, as you know, the cancer had metastasized from her breast to her bones to her brain. Last time I spoke with her was in February of 1989, and she died on March 30th, 1989. And I just want to say, she is gone, but she's not forgotten. She's gone, but in many ways, she's still present. I feel her spirit moving, and I feel her calls moving. It's been amazing, even working on her calls. With the pandemic, we have not been able to finish the interviews. She had 90, there were supposed to be 90 people to be interviewed about her life. We only got through 45 of them, so half of them, they still have to be completed. Okay. But in the meantime, before the pandemic, there's already been an opening of a cause of a miracle, a tribunal open for a miracle on her behalf. So, Thea was always an overachiever, and I can say this much. We don't even have the initial paperwork in for her to be considered a venerable, and we're already opening up a cause for miracle, which would make her blessed. So
Right.
I got a feeling when this vaccine comes and we end this pandemic that if things will, I really feel, I don't know if I'll see it in my lifetime, but I do think her cause will move, because there's just a lot of unquestionable, unexplainable things that things that are happening through her intercession. So with that, I'll just end. I'm sorry for belaboring this. I hope I tried to get 52 years in a short time, but yeah.
No. Let me ask you this. She was she's buried in Nashville. Is that correct? No, Memphis.
In Memphis, at Elmwood Cemetery, next to her parents.
Did you? I'll never forget. I have a deep devotion to Sister Thea, and especially when I came into the church in 2003, and I'll never forget the first time I went to that first Black Catholic Congress, or the Congress in Buffalo, and here I am, this young street preacher, and I'm trying to be like you, try to be a missionary, and I got my first parish mission. Father Joe Dyer.
Oh yeah.
Gave me my first parish mission. And I'll never forget, it was at St. Luke's Catholic Church in Canton, Mississippi, Sister Thea's old church there. And so I remember driving down to, it was in the winter. I remember driving to Mississippi, and I stopped in Memphis to pay homage to her at the cemetery. And I'm the type of person, if I'm in the presence of holiness, I laid down and I prostrated myself on top of her grave. And it was freezing outside, but it was warm on top of her grave. Mm-hmm. And outside of it, it was cold. Mm-hmm. And that's when I knew she was with me.
Yeah. And we used to have masses when I was stationed in Memphis, and had a parish there, and we would have her annual mass, and her postulator, Dr. Andrea Ambrosi, says, "Father, you are not to do that ever again. Now that I'm a part of the cause, I cannot lead devotion with people in front, because it has to come naturally." So they would look at me as, okay, you're the one that's hyping this up. And so you can keep on laying down at the grave, but I better not be seen laying down at her grave.
I'll be more than happy to do it.
Yeah, and that kind of hurt me. I didn't know that I was signing up for that, because, I'm going to always have devotion to her,
Did you ever visit her home? There was a house in Canton. Is that the house she grew up in?
Grew up in and died in on Hill Street. So it's very much important. Thank God. What happened with the house was that her good friend, when she was the only child, and so a good friend of hers in the neighborhood, their home caught on fire, and they had a lot of kids, and all of them made it out safely. And Thea went home and asked her mother if Doris could come and live with her. And so the Bowmans talked to her parents, and they agreed to allow one of their children to come and live with Thea. Mm-hmm. And so they had their two, twin beds in the room. And Doris would say that it was more like a library, because she had more books. She didn't have dolls. She had books everywhere, in her room. They would pray the rosary in her room together. And what Doris did, she, of course, after Thea died, a relative had bought the house for a while. And then Doris came and moved away from Canton, came back and bought the house. So I'm so grateful that in her buying the house, she left it in her will that the house would go to the Diocese of Jackson when she dies. Because I'm learning a lot through this canonization process, is that the place where a future saint dies is considered holy ground, right. So that you have to inspect and make sure that this. So typically nuns would die in a convent, so of course you would have that there. But when they die at home, and somebody else buys a house, the house is considered, a sacred place. So, and I've seen people, and I'm a witness to this, people have come to Canton while when her cousins were living in the house and would kneel on the front steps and pray. And they were like, oh, that's why I think they got rid of the house. They said too many people are stopping off kneeling in front of our house, and this is weird for us, because they weren't Catholic. Her cousins weren't Catholic.
Right.
So to have, and I want to be totally transparent. I had a friend who was very ill, and he wanted to go and pray at the house. And so I said, you can go kneel there, but I'm not going to be kneeling in front of somebody's house in the neighborhood. I'm sorry I said that as a priest. So he went out and kneeled, and sure enough, the family came home in their pickup truck and was blowing at him like, what you doing in front of our house? So but that was a beautiful thing, that he saw that.
Is her friend Doris still living? Because I know Doris was still living in the house years ago.
She went back she was living in Los Angeles. She moved back, bought the house. She wanted to make a retreat center. And I used to tell Doris, that house is not big enough to be a retreat center.
Right,
you can have 2 or 3 people come and sit in the living room. That's all you can do. It's a very modest house. She moved because her health is really deteriorating. She moved with her niece in I think it's Denver. She's in Denver, Colorado.
Okay.
I spoke to her when I wrote the book, and I was happy to find that she did leave the diocese in the will. So once she passes, it will come to the diocese and they can take it over, which is good.
Good. We have one question or one comment. It says, I don't know how young I was, but I remember her coming to a revival at Holy Ghost Church, and I was an altar server. She changed my life and vision of the church. I came to Dallas after Katrina, and the church here, Holy Cross, has a lock of her hair in a beautiful storage container.
Amen. Yes, that's true. All of that's true. I Holy Cross Church built a chapel, and they have it in there. There about that lock of hair. There are 4 locks of Thea's hair. How Holy Cross got it was Sister Francesca Thompson, a Franciscan, an Oldenburg Franciscan sister, very dear friend of Sister Thea. She was a former provost of Fordham University. She had come when Thea was dying and was on chemo to visit her in Canton. And as she was sitting there in the kitchen with her talking, just when she would move, her locks would fall off, her braids would start falling out of her hair. Mm-hmm. She went and got a baggie and started, it was on the ground, kneeling down, grabbing the locks and putting them in baggies. Thea said, girl, what you doing? She says, baby, you letting go some first class relics and I'm gonna get a hold of them right now. So Thea just rolled her eyes like, you're crazy. That's just my hair falling out, But I am so grateful she did that, because what she did was she took them home, and after Thea died, she prayed about who she would send those locks of hair to. The lock that is at Holy Cross Church was given to Archbishop James Lake. And Howard Brown, who was the director of the Office of Black Catholics, when he actually, I should have said this about her cause, Bishop, they wanted to start the cause 5 years after Thea died. So in 1995, Bishop Lake and Archdiocese of Atlanta and Archbishop Lake and Office of Black Catholics actually started meetings. So when Archbishop Lake passed away, he made sure that Howard would have that lock and some other things of Thea's. So he's from Dallas, and so when he went home, he gave it to his parish, and that's what they did. Way before the cause opened, they had already built a chapel, a little meditation chapel, and got the lock of hair in it. The other 3, one went to her community in La Crosse. Francesca kept one, and Francesca sent me one. So I have, and she sent it to me like right after she died. Little would I know that I would be helping with her cause for canonization. So I think that was divinely inspired. And I keep it in a safe place. I don't have a chapel for it, but I do have a lock of her hair.
Do you, were you able to attend her funeral?
I was there, of course, yeah.
What was that like?
Richard, I can be 100 with you. I was out of sorts. It was powerful. She had her wake at Holy Child Jesus, her church in Canton. That church only holds 250 people, so it was like jam packed, and they were trying to get people to move over, and it was just too many people. The Thea wanted to have her funeral at Holy Child. She didn't want to have it anywhere bigger, but they had to move it to Jackson to St. Mary's Church, and over 1,000 people were there, of all races, all economic, educational backgrounds, cultures, denominations were all packed in. And she had cardinals and archbishops and bishops celebrating. Father John Ford, who was her very good friend, who was a Trinitarian priest, he was a homilist, and her good friend, Father Bede Abram, a Franciscan conventual, was the main celebrant.
Okay.
I was in the choir for a minute. I was so pent up with nerves because I was just distraught with losing her. I remember just wandering throughout the building I couldn't even sit there because, it just hurt me
Right.
that she was gone, and I had a lot of questions like, where will we go? What will we do? She's our voice. She's, and it was, Thea always prepared us saying we were the future leaders and that we would all have to do something, do our little part. And so I found confidence and I found solace in saying, Maurice, all you can do is your little part, and you do your bit to keep moving things forward.
We have another question for you. If Sister Thea were alive today, how do you think that she would react to the current state of affairs, the heightened division in our nation today?
Yeah, I think of that. I cannot not think of that. I think of everything that we go through. When I was, when Barack Obama was elected president, I was at the inauguration. I know Thea would have been there with her coat on because it had been cold, but she would have been there. In the same instance, seeing what we're going through with the racial divide, she would be everywhere. I just want to say that she would be writing, she would be singing, she would be speaking, both nationally to bring people together. And unfortunately, we've had a lot of people write. Brian Maskinell, God bless him, has been writing tremendous things. Sean Copeland, there's been speakers. Bishop Cherie have been speaking out. Bishop Edward Braxton has been writing pastorals. People have been doing things. This is a judgment, and I don't take anything away from what everyone did, but the impact that Thea had, that's what changed people's hearts. I don't know if because of her personality, because of who she was, maybe because she is a saint, that it takes that to bring true trust, true understanding. I don't see, because it's, as you can see, a lot of things have been done, but it's still here. We're still dealing, and no one has been able to crack this.
She said, one of the things that she said was, we bring our whole self to the church. We bring everything that we are to the church. But Father, I think in 2020, 2021, when we bring our whole self to the church in this political dynamic, I think that, I shouldn't say, how do we go about changing the narrative that is dividing us? Because even the church even politics has come inside the church and has divided us as well. In the spirit of Sister Thea, how do we bring our whole self to the church?
I think one thing about Thea is that she was always consistent. I think that the church is very historic, 2,000 years old. Yes, it is political. It's all of that. it's Eurocentric in its thinking and in its outreach, although numerically, if you look at where the church is growing, it's growing in Asia, it's growing in Africa.
Yes.
And there are more people of color in the church universally than there are that would be European descent. And when that is understood and when there is a coming together, that's when things can change. That's when we can affect change. We saw that, and I'm going to get political. We saw that in our recent elections when people came, thank God for the Thea Bowmans. Thank God for the Black women who came out and made a difference, who stood up. Our country, our church has been heavily carried on the backs, the broken backs of Black women who stand up, who speak out, who encourage, who nurtures. And that's why I think it's a prophetic moment that, Kamala Harris is the very first Black vice president, Black female vice president, and Black Asian vice president. I'm really, it's the consistency that takes place. And I think that's what we learn from Black women. They never had a chance to sit down. They never had the opportunity to give up. They kept on keeping on. And it's been true. Folks would still be on plantations and we didn't have a Harriet Tubman.
Right.
It's always been, to talk about the lynching. Yes, we got Brian Stevenson, but we had Ida B. Wells back in the day who spoke. I am behind. I guess you can say I'm a Black Catholic feminist. I'm very much for women. I never, ever, and I'm not ashamed. I write about this. I tell about it. I learned how to preach. I never had a man teach me how to preach. I had 2 white nuns and Sister Thea were my preaching teachers. Let me really turn your wig around to tell you now that also I learned how to say Mass. Today we celebrate the Feast of St. Rose Philippine Duchesne. It was a madam or a religious of the Sacred Heart that taught me how to celebrate Mass. I learned how to say Mass from a woman with a doctorate in liturgy. So that's where my heart is. You don't become bishop saying those things, but I ain't worried about that. It's about speaking the true truth and saying that it's those things that have helped, help me be the man of God. Thea would say, I raised Maurice Nutt to be a priest. And so that's my spiritual mother. She raised me. And so I'm giving a shout out. And I want to say, I'm not saying because I see a whole lot of women on this call, but I would say there was a whole lot of men. That we need your strength, we need your power, we need you to speak up. Because men, and as lay women, you need to speak up. Because you know what they do with the Black men who are priests? They say, we take your faculties away from you. Religious women don't have faculties. Religious lay women don't have faculties. Religious lay men don't have faculties. Except you want to go around and preach, Richard Lane. So you got to, it really holds us.
Yeah.
So, and that's why I think the bishops threw Sister Thea Bowman out in her wheelchair to talk to the bishops, because they were a little bit, I think they're a little sheepish about speaking out. So they pushed her in front, stood behind her, poor thing, she up there dying of cancer, barely got breath, but she had to get things right before she died, But here we are again. Why? Because there was no consistency. There was no Thea Bowman constantly putting the bishops in check about doing right by us.
Right.
We have the National Black Catholic Congress. They get funding from the U.S. bishops. So they're never going to say what they need to say.
Right.
Mm.
Let me ask you this, Father. Now, you went there. I'm going to open up this can of worms. If you need to close it, close it. But, there's so many of us, and I'll say it here. I wanted to be publicly very proud of the first African-American president that was elected. But due to my conservative faith and things of that nature, I didn't feel comfortable coming out saying that. Not that I was ashamed, but the political ramifications of that, Father. I made a choice now, and I'm gonna say it right here, right now. I made a choice that I am not going to be ashamed to be proud to see a Black woman as Vice President of the United States of America.
Amen.
Because there have been that glass ceiling has finally been broken for a Black woman to rise to the second highest office of the land. Now, let me ask you this, Father. As a Catholic, we hear so many people in the hierarchy of the church saying, you can't be Catholic and support a Democrat. You can't, if you express some type of pride, and I'll say it from my point of view, if I express any type of pride publicly for Kamala Harris, I get thrown underneath the conservative bus and run over 2 or 3 times and say, well, you know, that means that you are you're supporting abortion and everything else. Father, how do we navigate that this road that we're going down in 2021 and beyond?
Members of the pro-life movement or anti-abortion, they're not pro-lifers. Pro-lifer is from the womb to natural death. 8 minutes and 46 seconds was not natural death. We have seen this constantly, and that's why, you know, it's interesting. You know, we're supposed to follow the magisterium, the teachings of the church. We're supposed to follow the lead of our Holy Father, but it depends on who's the Holy Father.
Come on, preach.
And right now we have a Holy Father, and I was taught as a good Catholic, you listen to him, you obey him. Even when I listened and maybe didn't always agree, he was still my Pope, and that's what I led. Now we have people who are outright defying the Holy Father.
Come on, Pastor.
Who are not listening to what he's saying. And he said to us very emphatically, you know, yes, I know abortion is killing our babies. We have got to eradicate it. But he also said there's other forms of death happening that you are not attending to. You know, are you as vigilant about the death penalty as you are abortion? Are you vigilant about what's happening with racial riots going on? And so what I say to that is follow what lead of the Pope. Mike Pompeo went to the Vatican just before the election as a ploy to meet with the Pope so that he could tell Catholics in America, look, we are very close to the Pope. He rejected meeting him. And it was only a few days after Joe Biden was elected as president that he got a personal phone call from the Holy Father saying, I'm looking forward to working with you. Now, Pope Francis, he's very direct about what he thinks, and he does what he says and means what he says. So he's sending us messages. How is it that Wilton Daniel Gregory was named a cardinal, the only cardinal named in America a week before elections in America?
Right.
If that didn't tell me Black Lives Matter, I don't know what can when the Holy Father would do that.
Father Maurice, who got into the Holy Father's ear to tell him we need this done during Black Catholic History Month?
Yeah, and then during Black Catholic History Month too. Let me just tell you, he's very shrewd and he knows more than we know because he's being informed. And I'm a redemptorist, so you know he's being informed. You can fill out the blanks, you
Yes,
know.
sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes,
I'll say one of his main informants is Cardinal Joseph Tobin of Newark, my redemptorist brother.
My man, right across from Detroit.
Right. So he knows. That's why Cardinal Tobin don't say very much, but I do know this, and I'm proud to say it, that all of the United States cardinals were the ones who said it's time for them to be a Black cardinal, and they all supported Wilton Gregory going to Washington, D.C. and ultimately becoming a cardinal. So We need to
Amen.
thank the Pope, and we need to thank all of the cardinals in America unanimously said that it's time, and they supported the naming of Wilton. I say Wilton because, you know, I've known
I
you
know.
since seminary, and among us Black Catholics, there's a closeness. So I don't mean any disrespect, but they knew and said it was time. But how it was played out, and you have to understand, when was Wilton named to Washington? He was named on April 4th, the anniversary of Martin Luther King, death, assassination. And then in this November, right before the election, also Black Catholic History Month, he's named, cardinal. That is not just done. Oh, what a coincidence! No. Exactly. That was planned. One thing the Vatican doesn't do is coincidence. Everything is well planned. So.
That's very true. Yeah. Father, in closing this time, and I want to say thank you so much for being with us. Give us some words of inspiration from not only Sister Thea, but from yourself in going into 2021, in getting through this pandemic.
I would encourage more people to spend time. I know we can't get to churches and stuff, but making your spiritual adorations to the Blessed Sacrament. The body of Christ is life. It says, he or she who eats of my body, drinks my blood shall have everlasting life. Jesus himself said, I've come so that they might have life, John 10:10, and have it more abundantly. We need life in the midst of this death that we have experienced. Death, a 250,000 lives have been lost in the United States through COVID. Countless number of women and men who died through racial uprising and police brutality. People who are unemployed, people who are homeless because of the economic downturn and what COVID has done, and there's no relief. People have been hurting through the political shenanigans of these last 4 years. We need life. And I believe that, 2020 was supposed to be a new vision. Well, this has been the worst year ever. But I know one thing, better days are ahead. And I believe that 2021 is for us to be steadfast, unmovable, always abiding in the work of the Lord, and to trust what Thea Bowman used to say. She used to say this, and it was more of a contemporary time of her jargon. And she says, we've got to keep on keeping on.
Yes.
And I say that because that's what we have to do. We can't lose faith. We can't lose heart. We can't lose hope. We have to move forward together as one. And I pray that will happen. That's my encouragement to those who are listening, to my self-encouragement. And I find strength through the Eucharist. I find it, Lord knows, there's other churches that got better preachers. There's other churches that got better gospel music. But if I didn't have the Eucharist to strengthen me, I would have been saying sayonara, adios a long time ago. But I stay rooted in the body and blood of Christ. That's my ticket to new life. I want to go to heaven someday. And that's why I stay and remain steadfast as a Roman Catholic priest.
Amen.
Yeah.
Father Maurice Nutt, thank you so much for joining us, brother. It is truly a blessing and an honor to always see you and hear you. Know that you will remain in our prayers each and every day. And thank you so much for what you do.
Thank you. I see all my good friends there, and Elizabeth Williams won't even say hi to me, sitting up there looking at me, staring at me. Hey, how you doing?
I'm good.
How Minister Lowe doing?
She's doing real good. I'm gonna tell her you asked about her.
You give her a big hug, your sister, for me. And everyone else, I know you from different places. Susan, you look very familiar to me. You can smile all you want. You need to unmute yourself so I know where you're from.
Hi, I met you a few years ago at a conference over at the at Sacred Heart Seminary, and I belong
Yeah.
to Sacred Heart Church, and Father Thomas is
Oh,
my pastor.
Oh, yes, Lord. Give everyone in Sacred Heart my love there.
Thank you.
Shannon and Sister Rose.
Hi, Richard.
Huh?
Hey, Susan, how you doing?
Come on,
Good.
open up your mics. I want to know who you are before we get off of here.
Good evening. How are you, Father?
Hi, Shannon. How you doing?
I'm
Where you
doing
from?
well. Thank you. I am from St. Mary and St. Richard Parish in the suburb of Detroit.
Okay, great. Good to see you. And Sister
Thank you.
Rose? Oh, I know Anita. I see Anita.
Oh,
Anita,
good.
why aren't you
Okay.
showing yourself? Go ahead, Sister Rose.
I'm from the Archdiocese of Detroit. I serve as delegate for Consecrated Life. I work
Oh,
with
wonderful.
religious communities, and I just came across it was advertised in Parish Mail, and I said I better see what's going on. You know, there's another parallel set of Zoom meetings where religious communities are analyzing their own racism through the years and trying to erase those things, or at least discover them, so that they can make penance for them. And so I think that's going very well. Also, we have an African American. We've had a few African American sisters, but one in particular, her name is Sister Desiree Finlay.
Oh, yes, you're from
Yeah.
Houston.
So she has been given the go ahead, to work with the Black community, and I think she's doing quite a nice job. She's rather young, but she's catching on rather well on how she can serve. Yeah.
Give her my love. Tell her I said hello. And you also run Madonna University, right?
Yeah.
Your community?
Yes, I was president of Madonna University
Right.
once upon a time. So you took
tell
my
my
breath
good-
away. when you-
Tell my good
Yeah.
friend Jessie Cox I said hello.
Okay.
Yeah.
We had a program there called Bridging Lost Gaps. And
Right.
we had wonderful young men from Detroit. I just could hug each one of them.
Yeah.
They
Great
did
folks
well
in Detroit.
scholastically, and
Yeah.
I miss so many there, but I miss them in particular. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Sister Sally David, how you doing?
I'm doing fine. Thank you, Father. It was a beautiful presentation.
Oh, thank you. Where are you from?
I'm from Canton, Ohio.
Okay, the other Canton, huh?
Yeah, the other Canton, yeah. I'm a former DRE.
Oh, and I already know because I got a friend who always visits the Canton, Ohio. I don't know why he always go to the Hall of Fame for football.
I don't know why.
I just don't know, but yeah. So I already know how you showed up. You have to tell me.
Right.
And Anita, I don't be trying to get off of here. You don't have to show your face, but talk to me.
How are you, Father?
Hey, I'm doing great. How you been?
I'm okay. I'm missing Mass, but I'm okay.
I know
I'm
what
looking
you mean.
forward to when you can come back and visit us.
Oh yeah, give my love to everybody there, please.
I will.
Anita, tell everybody where you're from, so I don't have to.
I am from our Mother of Mercy Parish in Beaumont, Texas.
That's right.
Yeah.
Are you guys doing okay with getting back through all the hurricanes and all that?
Oh yeah. It's moving slowly, but we're moving along.
All my prayers are with
Coming
you.
along.
Big love to Mother Mercy. Blessed Sacrament. You know they got some new stained glass window over there. And
Yes, and
what's happening in your diocese? I don't know what's going on.
I see. Somebody's telling on us. That guy is wonderful who made those windows.
Yeah.
I worked at Sacred Heart Parish over in Port Arthur, and he did the doors and some artwork there too.
Yeah.
Check him out.
See, this Black Catholic world is very small. You know, you'll find Richard can tell you as he's traveled around the country, and it's just good. It's like a family reunion. So,
Amen.
Yeah.
It is. Well, Father, before you give us, I'm going to ask you to give us a blessing, but I want to thank everyone for the privilege of your time in this particular program. I want to make sure that I give a thanks to the Archdiocese of Detroit especially the Office of Multicultural Ministries and Vicki Figueroa, who made this possible. I want to thank all of the donors that have been so wonderful in their making this possible. If you want more information, please go to richardlaneministries.com. Father Maurice, do you have a website where people can go and follow you? And even if they want to contribute to the cause?
They can, okay, those are two different websites. If you want to book me after COVID, you can do that as well. But my website is www. Father spelled out Maurice, Maurice, J as in Joseph, Nutt.com, N-U-T-T. I'm a nut with two T's, so. So yeah, .com. And Sister Thea Bowman's website is www. Sister spelled out TheaBowman.com as well, and you can give donations there. You can also write, if you go to the website, you can write to the diocese to get holy cards, and they also have brochures, so you can get those by going to her. And the prayer is very powerful. So please consider you can get the prayer and you can get this picture of her. You can just download that on the website. But if you like these nicely matted ones, you just need to write or call the diocese and they will mail them to you. There's no cost, but the diocese always appreciate a donation to help with the cause. And
I'll make sure I put a link to all of that in the below. Also want to encourage you to please purchase Father Maurice's book on Sister Thea. If you would hold that up, Father, thank you. I'll make sure that there's a link to the information on that in the comments section below as well. So
there's also a direct link on my website to get my books. So
I'll link your website as well.
Yeah, because Advent is coming up, so I have a Advent and Christmas meditation book from St. Alfonso the Glory and my prayers that I've written. So it's a day-to-day reflection to get you through Advent. I also have one for Lent. So nice little companion to have as you go through the liturgical season.
And where can we purchase that, Father?
These are from Ligori Publications.
Okay.
Yeah. Better yet, if you want to make it easy on yourself, just go to Amazon, put in my name, and all my books come up. So.
Oh, that's even better.
Yeah. I was going to ask if it was on Amazon, but cool. Okay.
And it's cheaper that way. So go ahead. And I don't tell the publishers I said that, but.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you, everyone, for the privilege of your. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. As I'm closing out, let me just share with you what's next in my life. Two things. Right now, I am working, completing a book on preaching in the Catholic Church. I've got this is the table of contents for it, but it's called Down Deep in My Soul, the Black Preaching Style in Catholic Worship. Down deeper. And so I'm working on this. It's not yet published, but it deals with everything, even this moment of racial reckoning and how do we preach to this. Aquinas Institute in St. Louis, my advisor, Father Greg Hiley, and I will be teaching this adult learning course from May and June. It'll be online, of course, about preaching about racism. So we will be having a course to help people to know how to speak about racism in the Catholic Church and in the setting. And finally, in January, I'm opening, I just completed my certification in October for, it is actually for spiritual direction. So I'm a certified spiritual director, and I will be doing online spiritual directing through Zoom as well. I'll be opening up a website in January. When I open it up, it'll be called Copiosa Care. The Redemptorists, our motto is Copiosa apud eam redemptio, which is with him there is plentiful redemption. So Copiosa Care, I think a whole lot of people need a lot of copiosa, a whole lot of care right now. So I'll be doing spiritual direction online as well as after the COVID in person here in New Orleans. So,
Father, did you ever think you would be doing spiritual direction online 2 years ago?
No, but it has shown me that a lot can be done through Zoom, and so doesn't stop us. So,
Next thing you know, we're gonna be doing confessional.
well, I don't want to do that. I want somebody to lay hands right there with me. Yes, Lord. I heard Susan. She don't want that her confession out on the internet. I hear you, baby. I ain't mad.
Amen.
Yeah. Putting my sins out on the world. Internet.
Amen. Anything else you got for us, Father?
No, I'm sorry for doing my commercials, but
Please.
People know, I'm not just sitting in COVID land. I'm thinking about what's going to happen next. So I've been writing and establishing this new ministry. So let's just bow our heads and pray for God's blessing. Gracious and mighty God, it's through your goodness and your power and your might that you bless us, that you continue to restore and deliver us to wholeness and health and peace and happiness. Lord, bless your world, heal your land, encourage your people, give them strength, in the words of Thea Bowman, to keep on keeping on. And may Almighty God bless you and keep you. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Richard Lane Ministries has ended for the evening. Let us now go in peace to love and serve the Lord and one another.
Thank
Thanks
you.
be to God.
Thanks be to God.
Daryl, what you doing just showing
Thank
up?
you.
Right. What's up with that?
Daryl, what you just showing up late for? You had the wrong time, bro.
No, I've been here. I just haven't showed my camera. I've been here. I was the one who made the comment about Holy Ghost and the lock of hair at Holy Cross.
Oh, yeah, that's how you knew about Holy Cross. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Good to see you,
Yeah.
bro. You okay? Yeah, I don't get to see
Same
you, but
here,
on
brother.
Facebook.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
all
yeah.
right. Yeah, you got to keep in touch with me. Don't
That's
be
right,
like
that's
Elizabeth Williams. She just writes me on Facebook. So her and
Oh,
Anita,
Father.
that's all the time I ever hear from them.
I'll keep in
Oh,
contact. Yeah.
Father. They say, I think about you all the time.
Oh,
Yeah.
you know you my special Miss Liz. You know you are.
Your armor bearer.
Yes, you are.
All the way
Yes.
back to Unity Explosion.
Unity Explosion
All right.
days, Daryl. Yeah.
Good days. Good days. I was a young boy, but it was good time.
Richard, you hear that?
Yeah.
These young people talking they be young boys.
I
I was
know.
young.
You
I was
still
12.
young.
13. Oh yeah, I'm still
But
young.
let me, I want to remain, I already gave you all your blessing. I'm trying to remain Father Maurice. You already ran a sister off of this. Now I got to leave. The
Thank y'all.
nun just left because see y'all starting to talk crazy.
God bless you.
I'm going to go see you, Richard. Thank you so very much.
Thank you all so much for your time. Make sure you check back next week, November 24th. We're going to have our prayer service. It's going to be at my church, St. Moses the Black, here in Detroit, Michigan. And then also on Wednesday, November 25th, we're going to have our final talk. It's going to be given by Father Manuel Williams out of Montgomery, Alabama, who's going to be talking about some of the history of Montgomery. So
He's got a lot to say. Y'all check in. That's my brother and my alpha brother. So y'all have to go see him.
I knew that 06 was going to come in
06
somewhere.
is coming out. Thea Bowman's father was an alpha.
Oh wow.
You know, an alpha man raised the same baby. Come on now. And Sister Kamala is my sister, but see, I got to go. You're going to get me in my Greek life. I was already talking Roman. Now you took me Greek life.
Thank you
later.
so much,
Love you all.
Maurice.
Okay.
God bless you all. Take care, everyone.
Good night.
Bye.